let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again. Never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud.
Hi, and welcome back to Recover Loud. Today we're sitting with Liz Hollabird. Liz, welcome to the show. Thanks for sharing your story with us today. Can you start out telling us what it was like for you growing up as a child?
Well, I actually grew up on Madawaska Lake, which is about 15 minutes away from Stockholm, which was pretty nice as a kid, living right on the water. So I had a lot of adventure time.
Yeah.
But my family and I, we experienced something quite traumatic that affected us all pretty deeply. And at that time, like a lot of things, you know, people didn't really know how to deal with things like this. You know, really mental health and stuff like that wasn't really something that was really talked about, at least not in my family. It wasn't, you know, it was kind of that you just kept going. You know, you got through it and you kept going. And, you know, we... Thankfully, over the last, you know, years of my recovery journey and my family, we've all kind of healed together, really.
So you're all in recovery today?
Well, in a way, yeah. Different kinds of recovery, but yeah, we're all kind of every day, you know.
Yeah, and years ago it was important to try to protect the image.
Right.
You know, these things don't happen to our families.
Right.
You know, and it's a sad truth that, you know, not being able to share that with people, not being able to get that support from others, or be of support to other people, you know, and that's the basis of Recovering Loud, you know, because today we know that there's no better help like somebody who's been through it.
Well, and that's the biggest part of recovery is having people who know exactly what it is that you're going through. I was terrified to ever talk about what happened to my family or whatever happened with me because I didn't want to be judged. Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, every family in Aroostook County, you know, everybody has their own issues and their own problems that they deal with, and I think sometimes we forget that we're all human and we all make mistakes, and a lot of us could all relate with a lot of the struggles that we all go through every single day. You know, and if we could all just kind of be that listening ear instead of the judging eye.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I mean, we all struggle with something.
Right.
And, you know, nobody goes through this life perfectly.
Right.
You know, and it's how we go through life, how we deal with those problems as they arise that really build our character.
Yeah.
I learned to hide. I turned to substances, which at some point you must have done.
That's exactly what I did, yeah.
So at what age did you first start using something?
Well, I was probably 12 or so when I started, kind of understanding what marijuana was. Started smoking marijuana, which kind of led me into drinking here and there. And then I started smoking cigarettes. And it was really made when I got into my freshman year of high school. And I kind of had this anxiety, depression meltdown. And I had no idea what I was going through. I didn't understand it. All I knew was I just didn't want to leave my house. Yeah. I was really young, and I didn't understand what it was I was feeling, but just that I was terrified. So I ended up actually homeschooling my first year of high school. And that was kind of really a dark year for me, because I kind of just isolated, because I didn't know how to deal with it. My parents tried to obviously get me into counseling and things like that, and wanted to start me with some mental health medications and stuff. But
did that happen, or?
I tried some medication for a little bit, but then I didn't want it, and then I worked through it, and then my sophomore year of high school I went back to school, and that's kind of when prescription drugs became a big part of my life. I remember the first time I tried a drug, I thought, this is the feeling that I've been looking for. And I found happiness. I found this thing that made all my problems go away, and all these feelings that I was feeling that I didn't understand just disappear. And I grew up in Stockholm. I had no idea what the stuff was or what it did. I just was with a group of friends, and we did it, and that was that. Yeah. Fortunately for me, though, I was able to kind of not get so wrapped up in it. Somehow, I don't know. But I watched a lot of people that I went to high school with and that were my group of friends go down a completely different way with it. So I'm very grateful that I did experiment with it, and I started it, and I think it's what kind of led me into my main problem, which is alcohol. Yeah. Once I hit college, I kind of just felt like, well, I can't be doing any illegal drugs anymore.
Oh, yeah. Right.
My degree was criminal justice. So I really kind of was thinking, well, that's not wise, so I'll just stick to drinking. Because drinking is, socially acceptable, and a lot of people do it. But it was not good for me. Alcohol kind of turned me into somebody I didn't even recognize. And I didn't really start getting bad until after I turned 21. I started blacking out. I wouldn't remember what I did or what I said. I would have people telling me the next day the things I said to them, and I would say horrible things to these people. Things that I couldn't even, and the things I would do, and you can never take that stuff back once you do it. And for a while, I was okay with it, because I'm like, everybody gets blacked out and drinks and has a good time, and that's not a big deal. But it turned out being that eventually, after a lot of trials and errors, I realized it was the alcohol that had to go.
Can I ask, where did you learn to drink like that?
That's a good question, Mike. Well, drinking was a big thing in my family. It was. My parents would come home from work and they would drink, and when we go on vacation, it was good, drink and have a good time, those kinds of things. And I think I wanted to have way more of a good time. For me, I couldn't stop.
Yeah, and see, when I started drinking at 12, and it was at family functions. Yeah. And I wanted to be like my aunts and uncles that lived on the lake and had the boats, and they would drink every weekend from the time they got up. Yep. So I learned that drinking was, as much as you could drink until you threw up or passed out. Yep. And then as I got older, that caused me a lot of trouble. Being at the bars in Canada, passed out on the bar. Until last call when I was woken up and handed the keys to drive back. Those crazy things happened, and I didn't know that I was drinking wrong.
Right. I felt the same way. Yeah. I felt like I was doing what everybody else was doing.
Right. There was no difference.
Right.
So when did you notice that it was a problem for you?
Well, I think I knew for a while. I think you start to understand after a little while that then you start to justify it in your brain. It's not right, but then you're like, well, no. Right. Probably by the time when I graduated college, and I started to black out almost every time I was drinking. And the things I would say become more hurtful, and the things I would do would become worse. And I was driving my vehicle home, and I had no idea how I got there. You know, who knows the people that I'm very thankfully I haven't, but I could have hurt driving my vehicle like that.
Yeah. We know that, you know, quitting alcohol cold turkey can lead to seizures and be dangerous for people. Did you have any problems when you quit?
Because the big thing for me was like, it wasn't like, it was getting there. You know what I mean? I was always a binger more than I was an everyday drinker, you know. But it was getting to that point. It was getting so bad to that point where it was either I had to find another solution or I was going to end up, you know, having to drink all the time. You know, and I remember, like, when I got sober for those 2 years, and I didn't have a program and have anything like that. I just kept thinking I can do this and I'm fine. The reality of it is that bad things keep happening in life. You know what I mean? Not everything is always happy, no matter what situation you're in.
Right. Getting rid of the substances doesn't make the world stop.
It doesn't. So I realized that the hard way. But for me, it was how I learned how to cope with my issues. So when that relationship fell apart and bad things happened, I thought, what's going to help me get through this? Well, the alcohol. That's what's going to help me get through this, you know. And so the drinking became a real issue, and I quit my job with AMHC, and I decided I was going to go get some help. So I ended up in rehab in Florida, and I wanted to get as far away from here as I could because I blamed here. It was Aroostook County, it was this place, it was... I soon realized it was me, and that it wouldn't matter where I went, it was going to still... I follow myself, you know.
I've actually helped, you know, even my own kids understand that. You know, if there's a jerk everywhere I go, chances are I'm the jerk.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So what led you to choosing Florida? You just wanted to get out of here?
I just wanted to get out of here. I just thought that it was here, and it was the place, and it was the people, and it was, you know, I just wanted to get as far away from here as I could.
Because you said you worked at AMHC, so you knew that there were resources here.
Yeah. I knew that, and I knew that there was AA and all those things, but I didn't feel like I needed that. You know what I mean? Little did I know.
Exactly.
And the rehab in Florida was it was nice, and they did a lot of deep therapy work with me, and there was a lot of things I gained from it. But I also didn't want to come back here, and I ended up staying down there for probably a year. And I got myself involved in the same kind of toxic relationships, just different, you know, trying to save this person and help this person, and you know, not understanding that it was me that I needed to work on, not anybody else, you know.
When we're unhealed, you know, we can't help other people heal. You know, my experience in rehab was kind of similar to that. I read every book that we had. You know, I went to every meeting and I spoke at every meeting, and I could tell every person there what their problem was.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yep. But not mine.
Right. You know, 3 months into my rehab, I was asked to leave because I just wasn't getting it. You know, and it was more hurtful to other people. And at first, I didn't understand that. I was so mad at them. You know, and I later understood. You know, the lesson that honestly, that's what I needed. I needed to be humbled because Mike wasn't any better than any of those people there.
Right.
You know, I was struggling with the same issues they were. And I couldn't accept it at that time. Yeah,
that was a hard one for me too. Yeah. To humble myself was really hard.
Yeah, and I understand someone's rehab program is their own and it's personal. But is there one lesson that you learned, you know, through that process that really made a big difference for you?
Honestly, it was about probably learning that other people were going through the same thing I was. You know what I mean? And the meetings and were amazing. I remember feeling such a connection. The first AA meeting I went to, or the first NA meeting I went to, with all these people, and you could just feel it in that room. You know, that was probably the biggest thing for me, was knowing that I'm not alone. Yeah. You know, I'm not alone in this, and it's okay to talk about it. You know, rehab was huge for me for that. And just to even have a place just to heal. Yeah. You know, and to be vulnerable.
You know what I love about that lesson in particular is you know, when it comes to understanding and accepting and forgiving people, when we can accept and understand that they're also struggling with some of the same things that I am, it makes it a hell of a lot easier for me to accept, forgive, and move on.
Yeah.
Because we're all sick in some way.
Exactly.
You know, and if we just assume that that person is that way because they're a jerk, then there's no hope for that person, right?
Yeah.
If we understand and believe that there's something that that person is struggling with, we can offer a solution. We can lend an ear. We can be support, and things can turn around.
Right.
You know. So you went to Florida.
Yes.
You went through the rehab.
Yes.
And you've been sober ever since?
No. No.
So what happened there?
So I ended up in another really bad relationship, and my car got stolen, and I ended up in Miami somewhere, and my whole life down there fell apart, and I ended up having to come home, pretty much, which was awful for me at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I drove home, and it was an amazing experience, really. It's a long drive, but it was a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
But I was terrified the whole way here because I knew, I assumed there wasn't going to be any kind of recovery up here the way there was there, which is different, obviously. But so I kind of came home with my tail between my legs, and that was really, really hard for me. I didn't get back. I found the AA meetings and the NA meetings and things like that, but I kind of stayed away from that, and I tried doing the whole I'm going to just deal with it on my own. And then I still just couldn't get out of my own way.
Yeah.
And the drinking started again when I came back home, and it started causing issues again with my family and everything. And I basically got to the point where I wanted to die. That was where I was at and with my life. And I remember the night exactly when, you know, my dad is one of those people that was like, well, let's just go to the camp and you can heal up there. And I said, no, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't. I need to go get some real help. And so I did. I had my dad drive me to Fort Kent Hospital, and I told him that at this point it was either drink or die. I don't, you know, I'm just over, I'm over it. I'm tired, and I don't want to do it anymore, you know. And speaking of humbling myself, I went to, shortly after that, and I ended up staying in a psych unit for probably about a week or so, and they were really great there. I got out, and of course I spent that whole week before going to the rehab in Limestone, getting wasted much as I possibly could. Which is, I mean, the things I would tell my family that I'm going for a walk. I go down to the store and I get a fifth of Captain Morgan, drink it, keep walking. And it was just, the insanity of it is just, I still don't understand it to this day. But I ended up getting referred to the farm. And that program was amazing. It really was. The rehab in Florida was fancy and nice, and we had a pool and all that, but the Limestone, the farm, the program there, it was, you know, they gave me all these books to read, and all this literature about alcoholism, and, you know, and what that looks like, and what you're experiencing, and what you're feeling, and it was just so educating. I took it all in this time. And I think that's a big part of recovery, is you really have got to take it all in. You really got to want it, you know. I took it all in, and it made everything started to click. Okay, all right, well, this all makes sense now.
We're going to take a break, catch a word from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we're going to find out what's keeping Liz sober today.
Welcome to Rick's Redemption, where we are family owned and operated. We strive in cleanliness, honesty, and customer appreciation. Rick's Redemption is a recovery-ready employer who believes wholeheartedly in redemption. Here at Rick's, we support Recovery Rustic and definitely are proud to recover loud. God bless.
Liz, so now you've found recovery, you're doing well, and life just became perfect for you?
It did, actually. I mean, I felt really great, and I had reached my first year of recovery, and the next day, actually, after my first year, I found out that I had a rare tumor that was cancerous.
Wow.
So my whole life at that point turned upside down. And this is really the part where my recovery changed a lot. I kind of started to have a deeper connection with God. And honestly, I believe, and for me, God is what got me through my cancer. God is what got me through, not wanting to use or drink during that time. I had met John at that time too, my husband John, and he was just amazing through all that. He never once left my side, and I believe that God had him there with me for that reason. To have that support, and it definitely made things different for me, because as much as I loved AA, I couldn't go to the meetings and feel the same anymore. I felt different. Does that make sense? Like, I just didn't feel like I could talk about, I could talk about drinking all day long, but I couldn't talk about what I was going through then. I mean, because it was cancer. It wasn't alcohol, So John and I we really found this group of people that are believers in Jesus and things like that, and we started having Bible studies and kind of, diving deep into all the scriptures and things like that, and that really touched me and helped me get through a lot of that pain and suffering. Cancer is a scary thing.
Absolutely.
I was told that, the answers there's still a lot of unknowns about what it is that happened, and I mean, I was 28 years old when all this went down. The surgery was really massive. I had to lay in bed for 6 months.
Wow.
And then my body completely changed after that. The pain I experience today is all day, every day. But I was able to stay abstinent the whole time, besides, the pain medications for after the surgery. But it was hard. It was hard.
Did you have any troubles using your pain medication?
I did.
Did you struggle with it mentally? Were you fighting with yourself?
Yeah. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. I had to call one of my doctors and say I can't. They, of course, the strongest medication, which is Oxycontin, which is one of the things I really tampered with. And I told them I didn't want it, but that's what they send you home with,
Right.
I remember I had to call one of my doctors and say, listen, I just can't take this. Send me something else. I don't care what it is, but I can't. Because I started to get to the point where, I could take it a little bit earlier. I'm in a lot of pain. I could justify it. But I was able to calm myself out, which is, I was proud of myself for that.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the best thing we can do for ourselves, is when we notice something, we're going to be the first ones to know. There's nobody that knows us better than we do.
Yeah.
And if we have that ability, that insight to really recognize where we're going, and then we can start thinking about, what is the end result? What's my motivation for doing it? And if the motivation is right, then it's okay to do what we need to do. But when that motivation turns towards our addictive thinking, that's when we have to step back and really take a look at it and decide. And so for you to have that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you are at where you are today because you were able to take a look at that.
Yeah, and I was able to deal with it in the right way. And also a big part for me too is being able to give back. How do I give back? How do I show people that, yes, life can be hard and it can be tough, and we're going to deal with hard things, but we can get through it. And there's ways that we can deal with it without using drugs or alcohol or anything. I also believe that there's so many different ways that you can find recovery. Not one way fits everybody.
Exactly.
Whatever is keeping you happy and keeping you healthy, and that's the kind of way I see it. I wouldn't have saw that before going through what I've gone through.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time, but can you please tell us, about some of the things that you're doing today to give back?
Well, my husband and I are part of Recovery Rustic, which basically, we help run the 2 recovery houses in Caribou. There's a man and a woman's house here, and we just try to find all the resources we possibly can for people in recovery. And we don't care what kind of recovery you are in or what your story is. We just want to be able to give you all the resources we can.
And what are you getting out of that? Why do you do it?
I don't know. I love it. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that I can give back what I would have received in a way.
Yeah.
And for me, and as part of being somebody who really believes in Jesus, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. How do we help people who are in the dark? you know, and I feel a lot of people who are using or in addiction, that's kind of where you are. You know, my life today is great. I have a daughter, which, you know, after all my cancers and stuff, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do that, but I am. I have a daughter, and I'm married, and I have a great family, and I have a life that I would never want to change, you know, but that's because of everything I've been able to accomplish and my journey, and I want to be able to see that happen for as many people as I can. You know, and Recovery Rustic is just a little part of that. I believe when we recover loud that we reach more people because people aren't scared to share their story. You know, and I think that makes a huge difference for the community, especially smaller communities.
Exactly. Your experience is valuable for other people to hear.
Exactly.
My experience is valuable. And it's important that people understand they're not alone.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us this week, Liz. Thank you for the work you're doing with Recovery Rustic. You know, the work you do at home, you know, being able to raise your family. And, you know, just living today. You know, so I'm grateful that you put in the work because it is affecting others. And, you know, we're all benefiting from you coming out and choosing to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Recover loud, everyone. Just got done talking with Elizabeth Hollabird from Caribou, Maine. Her story demonstrates that a person from any background, from any lifestyle, can experience trauma that will eventually lead to substance use disorder. We all deal with trauma different, and we all learn how to cope with our issues in the ways that we see others do it.
Anderson's Auto Repair, locally owned and operated in New Sweden, Maine, specializes in all make, all model vehicle diagnosis and repair. Each individual service is backed by our nationwide TechNet 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty. Call or stop in to schedule an appointment today. Anderson's Auto, for wherever the road takes you.
I recover loud, I recover loud, I recover loud. I recover loud, I recover loud. Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again, never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud.